To celebrate achievements, but in particular, it's an opportunity for us to recognise the inspiration that our young people are who live in Wales. Recognise the inspiration and the achievements of young people and the fantastic achievements that they make, supported by their families and supported by professionals and key workers.
And 2 years ago, my social worker called Hugh visited me at home and introduced me to Jill, my transition key worker. We discussed ways in which Jill could help me develop my independent living skills. I wanted to use public transport to meet my friends, attend youth club and visit the Just Ask shop in Bridgend, which helps young people. First of all, Jill helped me get a bus pass, and after this, Jill and I began training, and over 7 weeks we would catch the bus together. Jill would go through the process of how to ask for a ticket and how to ask the bus driver to stop when I needed to get off. This developed until I could catch the bus on my own, and Jill would meet me in my local town, Bridgend. I am now fully independent, using public transport from home only to Bridgend. This has enabled me to use public transport for work experience with school. I have used the bus to travel home after youth club. I meet up with friends in my local town in school holidays and use public transport to practice with Just Ask and performing talent contests in both school. This is preparing me for independently living in the future.
Success story. Matt met his friend Liam, who had also done travel training from a different valley. When the Olympic torch came through Bridgend, Matt caught the bus into town, Liam caught the bus into town. They met up and watched the Olympic torch go through Bridgend. If you knew Matt 2 years ago, you lacked confidence, but only just giving him a little bit of support, Matt has come on leaps and bounds, and so have many others.
It was just so exciting to have all of a sudden these key workers and helping us. And going to a residential college, it is a battle, isn't it, to try and get funding. And everybody's saying, oh, we don't have the funds. And that's why it was so important to have a key worker helping us.
Today is an opportunity to look back at what you have achieved. Supported by Joint Welsh Government and ESF Reach the Heights funding. Through this funding, valuable support has been provided to some 650 children and young people since the initial pilot project began in 2008-09. Congratulations to you, that's a really significant achievement. Since recently undertaking both the transition key worker and the person-centred review training, the number of families attending annual reviews has increased by 80%. This increase is a direct result of the transition key workers developing close relationships between families and other agencies. The 5 pilot projects improve most young people's experiences of transition from school to college. They also improve the experiences of those who are making or have made the transition from education into adult life. The study also found that all the young people and families interviewed, as well as a significant proportion of those surveyed by the projects, said that the TKWs have helped provide them with more and better information than they had previously had access to, and that they felt better supported.
Before I began on this project, I had absolutely no idea that you could have 15 to 20 individuals at any one time working with your child. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and just purely scary.
We had a key worker, Nina, and I don't think she'd been a social worker before. she was like a bull in a china, you know, fantastic. She would just go into school, and Cardigan being a small county, everybody knows everybody else, and no one wants to step on anybody else's toes, but bless her, Nina would step on everybody's toes to get something done. And she became a great friend of the family. And really, we kept saying, well, what's happening with this process, this battle to get funding? Because, of course, in Wales, they separated between education, health, and the Welsh Assembly funding. And, of course, no one else, everybody wants the other person to fund it. No one wants to put the funding.
The personalities of your key workers are so important. If you get the right people for the job, you're halfway there already. The girls are super determined, they've got fantastic personalities, and I say this because when we came into post, there was a lot of politics, a lot of difficulties, people felt we were treading on their toes and pinching their jobs. Certainly not what we're here to do at all. We're purely here to be complimentary and make the best for the young people that we work with. Is that the role of a key worker cannot be an add-on. It has to be a dedicated worker. The girls have no agenda. If you're affiliated to a particular organisation, you may have the agenda of that organisation. The only agenda the girls have got is to support that young person in what they want to do and what they want to achieve.
When I first met Lewis, he was in mainstream school and had special support because he has a diagnosis of Asperger's. And he was learning, or wanted to learn to drive. He was having driving lessons, but was struggling to do his theory. We made arrangements through person-centred planning how that important it was to him. So we actually spent an hour a week studying for his theory test. In the last year, he's actually passed his theory test, passed his driving test, and is now a proud owner of a Mini something or other, and is very, very independent.
One young man I supported, his name Nathan, and his actual picture's right there. Nathan is a 19-year-old young man who left school July last year. Nathan and his mother didn't feel that college was the right move for him. He's quite a vulnerable young man, he does tend to wander off, so they thought that the college environment wasn't safe enough for him. So we explored other options. Day service is the one that he chose through person-centred planning, that was as well. In order to have the most robust support for Nathan, he had to undergo a 6-week trial in day centre. That consisted of them completing assessments on him, his likes, his dislikes, and how they would manage his behaviour then as well. I supported him on them trials because as Nathan wasn't one-to-one funded in school, there was no one to support him on day services and he still fell under children's services. So I supported him on them trial visits and Nathan is quite happy now. He accesses a lot of community-based activities within the community, like swimming and cooking. And yeah, my man Nathan are quite happy now. As Johnny said, we do a lot of person-centred work and we have brought some of that work along with us today on the tables outside. Through that, we identify the needs basically, and I think as both of them said, we have a lot of complex needs. So it does entail linking in with a lot of organisations, but some of our young people are non-verbal. It is coordinating a lot of services and getting all that information from other people as well as the young person.
It is clear that there's very much to celebrate. The achievements made by the young people themselves, the confidence they have gained through the encouragement of transition key workers, the benefits to parents and carers, knowing they have support and a point of contact are all particularly pleasing to note.
Transitional key workers allow family carers to spend less time navigating complex mazes of health and social care and spending more time as a family.
Engaging with schools and colleges within the multidisciplinary meetings.
My daughter's life has changed with a transition key worker, and that's from Alex.
Watching the young people from the Dream Team taking the lead during marching on the Highlight Conference. Sue Jenkins.
Transitional Working Services has helped in supporting so many young people and their families here with Giffel. through what can be a very difficult and stressful time from children to adult-oriented services.
Our first project was a pilot. It was at Mysecoid, and thanks to Helen Glover for letting us start with her. It was the initial attempt, and they were pretty groundbreaking in Nisbetovet and had lots of things to work out. They identified key workers for young people from within the existing staff, and that was where we started. They have, over the period, trialled person-centred approaches to reviews. They've embedded the one-page profiles, and Helen's also given me, from that first pilot, gave me quite a lot of confidence, because she did say quite early on, I really don't want to go back to the old way. So that was enough to sort of give me confidence that we were on the right track. We've trialled this progress report, the transition plan, with the school, and we've had some learning. Quality assurance issues are important, and the long-term development of this work is really important. And also ongoing training, because as more staff take it on board across the schools, then of course cascading the training would be really key.
Bethany was having terrible experiences in school, with bullying and lots of other things. Bethany was always sad. The social worker got hold of a worker from NIAS for us, who in turn got Bethany a transition key worker, and her name was Ruth. I thought, oh no, not another person to deal with. By this time I'd had enough of social workers, I'd had enough of authority, and I just had enough of teachers as well. Out come a large sheet of paper, and we thought, oh, what's she doing here? Bethany and I told her all our thoughts, all our problems, and of course, this was personal-centred planning, which for the last couple of years we've heard a lot about that. That was the start of our journey for Bethany in transition. At this time, I was totally fed up of fighting for Bethany's corner. Bethany was always so sad. Ruth started to come to all meetings in school and social services meetings with me. When I got fed up of the fight, she became our voice. Without the key worker and NIAS, I think I would have given up.
I have felt like I have achieved a lot. Ruth, my transition worker, has helped me with a lot of things. I was unable to deal with myself as I had low self-esteem. My key worker helped me to get involved in attending my review meetings and my social services known as Children in Need meetings. With my key worker, we talked about the good and bad. We could then get a plan of action to take my meetings. She could get my voice heard. Attending my meeting made me feel like it was a good achievement, because I am now involved in all the decisions made about me, and having my voice heard, I now can make my future plans. My key worker spoke to me about opportunities to get me involved in my community and outside of my community. I can now mix with peers like myself and able-bodied young people. Funky Dragon is a group of young people from all over Wales. We meet 2 days in half terms, 4 times a year. From this, I was elected a Funky Dragon member for Blaenau Gwent. I also do some work with Together for Rights. I went to Brussels to talk about inclusive education. We also launched a poster for schools. I have recently been on a residential training how to be a peer educator. I also done some work with CCN Cymru. I went to Stackpole for a week with other young people over Wales. Dream Team worked on the conference. It was called Marching On With My Life, and we spoke about what was going to happen during the day. Me and my friend Mary did a workshop on transition experiences.
What next? I think it's really important that practice shapes policy rather than policy shapes practice. And we do tend to get into this culture of policy actually shaping practice, but we need to learn, from the good practice that's actually emerging in Wales, and there's some real excellent practice to drive forward the transitional process for young people. So having a protocol and a pathway is one way. It might not be the way in a year's time, but I think we do still need to have a structure or a framework that we all can work within, that everybody understands what that is, and everybody understands what their roles and responsibilities are, including young people and their parents, because they are the key people, they are central to this. But for me, it's very important that we keep an eye on the 4 domains, and they're equally important. And those 4 domains are home and independence, so thinking about what's going on at home, thinking about what we might like for the future in terms of moving into a nice swanky flat, or maybe going into supported living tenancy, for example. We also need to be thinking about friends, relationships, and access to the community and community life. We need to be also thinking about the health and well-being of young people, and that needs to be a key feature in a young person's plan, and how best to support them in terms of their health and well-being. One of the gaps that really did emerge in terms of key worker support was those young people who've got a life-limiting condition, who might not necessarily reach adulthood, but as we know and through research, many more are actually surviving. 90% are actually surviving beyond the age of 18, where the focus has been much more on end of life, but we need to change that around and talk about the future and transition plan with them. We're really pleased to announce some early work that we've been doing with Llandrillo College, with the awarding body of Bangor University, to develop a foundation degree. And it's got a nominal title at the moment, Professional Practice in Transitional Support. But over the coming months, we'll be sending out more information about what that degree might look like. And hopefully it might be on a Wales-wide perspective.
I'm very pleased to confirm that the Welsh Government will continue to fund CCM Cymru for this coming financial year. We'll use this time to ensure that the support for transition key working across Wales continues, and that we work with authorities to embed it and to extend the work that's already taking place. We're also exploring, through pilot work, a 21st century solution, the creation of a web-based planning tool to support this process and make it more user-friendly, more accessible to everybody involved.